I am Mollie Maloney Conway. I am a mother and a wife.
My name's Mark Conway. I'm an attorney. Primarily commercial law, bankruptcy law, real estate, wills, estates, things of that nature. I had a great childhood. Grew up with 5 brothers and sisters. We were 3 boys, 3 girls. Just like the Brady Bunch. Just not quite in that order. It was 3 girls first and then 3 boys. I was number 5 of 6. I guess that'd be Peter Brady. Delete that. Don't even put that in. We'd go on vacations and trips in the big station wagon with wood on the side every summer or whenever. And of course 2 or 3 of us would be stuck in the backpack. Those are the days of no seatbelts, and you'd be flying around going 65 miles an hour with your head out the window.
I grew up only a block from here, actually, and I could look straight down to the house that I grew up in. I was born the youngest of 10 to Bob and Eileen Maloney, who are just a beautiful couple. But my mother, unfortunately, died when I was 6, and she was only 46 years old. She died in 1971. That's when fathers didn't do anything. You know, they were not involved in the day-to-day life like parents are now, like fathers are now. He was a non-drinking, non-smoking Don Draper. That's what he was. And I watched Mad Men, and I swear to God, he is Don Draper, but he was never had a sip of alcohol, never smoked, and he was I'd probably say very unconventional father, but an incredible father. I had a very happy childhood. I have 9 older brothers and sisters. We have 47 grandchildren. It's just, we've been very blessed and a very happy family. We all grew up, which really is astounding, but we all grew up very functional. We really did. The most important thing that I think that parents can do is to love their children. And my father loved every one of his children. And that's all you had to know. He did a great job.
I did. I played football growing up. I had basketball before high school, but in high school, just football. At Dunmore High School. Well, my senior year, I played running back or tailback and cornerback, defensive back.
I was the captain of the cheerleaders. Sure. Senior year, big deal. Big deal. It was fun, but I just didn't take it that seriously. Yeah, we just had fun. It wasn't all about the practice and that. It was really, like, my siblings always abused me about it. I wasn't the taskmaster. We were there to have fun, and we did. We did.
My sister was marrying her brother, and we first met at the engagement party the day before the wedding.
And they got married in 1980, June of 1980. And the night before, it was the rehearsal dinner, and that was held at my sister Morgie's house. And he walked in the door, and I was only 16 years old, and I thought, that guy's in trouble.
And I immediately thought she was a pretty attractive girl. I'm not gonna lie.
Because I thought it was really, I mean, you're only 16 and you're kids, but it was an immediate attraction. I thought that guy's in trouble. I feel bad for him.
But then at the wedding the next night, we were 16, and she took advantage of me.
He was kind of shy then, and I was never shy. And at the wedding, we were all having a great time, and everybody's dancing, and Mark was out off in the corner, and I saw him talking to like a 90-year-old aunt, and I was like, we're all having so much fun. And I went over, and I grabbed him by the hand, and I said, we're gonna dance. I was like, let's dance. And he came over.
She chased me out on the dance floor.
And we've been dancing ever since.
Well, we've been together almost ever since, so that was 34 years ago.
Well, first of all, we have 7. Mark always wanted to have 6 kids, just like his family, 3 boys, 3 girls. And we did. We had 3 boys and we had 3 girls. And then we had Patrick, which was awesome. He's the best.
Kelly, my oldest, she's going to be 24 in June. She's a great girl. Very, very mature, always has been. As the oldest of 7, I think that was destiny for her.
Kelly is the oldest, and she's 23. And Kelly is somebody that I always say that I want to be more like when I grow up.
She's a great girl. Very, very mature, always has been.
She's just very smart, and not just smart, just naturally. She works hard. She's driven. She's not a procrastinator. And I'm a procrastinator. You know, that's why I would say I want to be more like her. She's a list girl, and she always has to have everything listed, and she'll, you know exactly what she's going to do. And I'm just like a fly-by-night. Whatever happens, happens. You know, so I really admire her. She's very smart. She's very independent. She's very strong.
Just a great all-around kid. Great daughter. Max, he's very different than Kelly.
Max makes me laugh.
He's probably more like me. He likes to have a lot of fun. He's a good student. He's a senior at Temple. He's looking to go to law school, although I don't think he wants to take after his father. I think he's interested in other areas of the law. I could see him being more of a maybe social justice kind of a lawyer rather than a business lawyer like me.
He is kind. He's loyal. He loves his mother. He loves his siblings. He is the kid that you would want to be your best friend.
Maddie's our special one. She was born at 2 pounds, 4 ounces. Probably wasn't supposed to be born, except for the drive and determination of her mother.
Maddie was born a twin. Maddie, when I was pregnant, we were lucky enough to find out we were having twins, and we were having twin girls. And really, we were so excited. I was thrilled. But then, very unfortunately, at 20 weeks, things went wrong with the pregnancy, and I lost her twin sister.
Her twin sister was not born alive in September.
You know, the doctors really just said, there's nothing we can do. You know, we're just gonna take the baby now, the other baby. And that's when I was like, you know, we're not going this route. And they put me in a labor and delivery room for 2 weeks, and Maddie did not come.
My wife, through sheer will and determination, kept Maddie in her womb in order for her to develop for that period of time from September to November.
So I laid in that bed, and I wouldn't let them touch the baby. I wouldn't let anything happen, and miraculously, like the cervix closed up and it turned into a single pregnancy.
And Maddie was born in November of 2004.
She was born at 2 pounds, 4 ounces, and she spent 2 months in the NICU, and she came home, and she turned into a beautiful young woman who does have cerebral palsy, but only, you know, her legs. She needs a scooter, but she's very smart, and she's very beautiful, and I'm very proud of her.
Yeah, she's a special kid, and she's got special gifts, and she could read people. She's in psychology, and I think she knows she could read people very well. So I think that's a great field for her to be in.
You cannot fool her. You can't anything. Nope, Maddie is. Don't even try. Don't even try. She reads you immediately.
Sometimes, although she has her moments. Maddie and Daddy don't always get along, so.
Jack is the jack of all trades. Jack is the boy that is our MacGyver. Jack can do anything.
Quite often it's not successful, but he gives it a try, and I just sit back and laugh, thinking, oh my God, he's gonna break that. Sure enough, the thing breaks right in his hands or whatever he's trying to do.
He was the kid that he walked at 9 months. He was jumping out of a crib at a year, like, you just could not stop him.
I think he was riding a bicycle off our front steps when he was like 3 months old. I'm exaggerating, but it might have been at 3 years old when we lived over on Grandview Street. He'd be riding a two-wheeler off our front steps, and you'd be like, stop. But before you could say stop, he was already off the steps.
He's awesome. Jack is awesome. He does everything. He's another one I'd like to be like. He just can do anything.
Bobby's our musician of the family. He's different than all the other, you know, they're all different. Every one of the kids are different. But he's probably different in more of an artistic way, where he started playing the piano a couple of years ago by watching it on YouTube. And that's where he picked it up, and he's just wonderful. I sit in our living room and just listen to him play all the time.
And I love nothing more than piano music. And he sits down at that piano and he plays just by ear. One day he decided he wanted to play the piano, get on YouTube and just look at how you play a song, and he'd go over to a piano and he would just start playing. And now he just plays that piano and he makes you want to cry. It's so beautiful.
And then for his 16th birthday, my wife asked, "What do you want for your birthday?" And he said, "I want a violin." He said, "I always wanted to play the violin." So we got him a violin and he started to play it.
Caroline is exactly like me. She is my clone.
Sweet Caroline is well, she's now a 13-year-old version of her mother.
You know, I didn't see it at first, and like maybe when she was maybe 5 months old, I remember looking at her at the bed, on my bed, laying on the bed, and I thought, oh my God, she is me. She looks just like me. And nobody else really kind of saw it at first, and then she's just like me.
Every time I look at her, she reminds me exactly of her mother. She's got the same facial expressions. She gets mad at me for the same things her mother does, so.
And that's the good and the bad. Like, the things that annoy me most about her are the things that are the most like me, and I think I just annoy myself.
But she's a sweet, sweet kid with a great sense of humor.
I love her to death. She is happy, and she's beautiful, and she's just kind, and she's just a great girl.
Patrick's 9, and he's the baby of the family. And unfortunately for him, I suppose we still treat him as the baby of the family.
Patrick's my baby. He was our surprise, and he just lights up our house. He's an internally happy person. That theme song, you know, happy, he walks around the house, sings it all the time. He's just an internally happy person. Just nothing can get him down. I love him. He's my baby.
But we all love him. He's still cuddly. He still tells his mom and dad he loves them and loves us and gives us lots of hugs. And
oh, I love my puppy, my dog.
Quincy's my favorite in the house. No, I'm just kidding.
And she is just she's a human dog. That dog, she understands English, and we swear she knows how to spell. So, you know, it's like, it's time to eat, we have to spell EAT, and now she even knows the EAT, so, you know.
She's a part of our family. You don't even know she's around. She's the sweetest dog.
My kids are all happy. All of them really have an internally happy gene. I was always a happy person, as was Mark, and our kids got it too. It's like, I do think some people are born like they can be downers, but you know what, we really, we dance in my kitchen half the nights after dinner. It's like, turn the music on, we clean the kitchen, we all have a good time, and we dance. Honestly, we have I have been so blessed. We have a very, very happy house.
We went to Hyde Park, New York, to visit FDR's house, and it's a really quaint area up along the Hudson. And I'll never forget, we're driving up Route 9, which parallels the river. And Mollie had said before to me, but she was saying again, I don't know, Mark, there's something not right with my vision.
I had, I was having a problem with my vision, just like a little bit. You know, not even much, just enough that I was just a little bit dizzy, and like if a car passed by, you couldn't focus on who was in the car. And that was annoying me.
And I, of course, was just saying, you know, it's probably just your contacts, see an eye doctor, quit whining and you know, enjoy our trip. And I really I didn't give it two thoughts other than, you know, it's probably your contact or eyeglass prescription. I
started with the doctor I thought it was an ear infection. Thought maybe a little vertigo. I thought then that didn't pan out. Then I thought contacts, it must be my contacts are all screwed up. Went to an ear, nose, and throat. And that doctor really didn't see anything, but he said, you know, just to be safe, why don't you go for an MRI of your brain? And that scared me a little bit, but I was okay. I went for an MRI on Friday, October 21st, and Mark and I went up and still didn't think too much about it, but obviously you're always nervous. 3:20, 2:45 that afternoon, the phone rings, and I'm driving Maddie home from school, and the doctor says to me, you know, this is Dr. So-and-so. I hope you're not driving a car right now because I have really bad news for you. You know, and I was like, well, I am driving a car right now, but I have always been a pretty strong person. I said, but yes, and he said, well, we did find there were 2 lesions on your brain that are consistent with metastatic cancer. He was like, I'm very sorry to tell you this, but, you know, very, very bad news. So you pull over, and honest to God, just just like any movie you watch where it's like kind of the room is spinning and you just really, in a moment, your life blows up.
And I was at work at around 3:30, 4 o'clock on Friday, October 21st, when the girls in my office said, Mark, your wife wants to talk to you. It's kind of an emergency, because I was getting ready to meet with a client. And I just said, Mollie, what's up? And she was crying. And she said, you have to get home right now. I just got a doctor's report, or the doctor just called me, and it's serious. So I dropped the phone, ran right past the client, because I knew at that point I could tell in her voice that something was very serious, but I had no clue.
Got home, 2:45, all the kids are home, they're just getting in the door, and your life just blew up in front of you, and it was a real punch to the gut. If there's any doctors in the room, that's not the way to handle a situation. Don't say, I hope you're not driving a car, because I have really bad news for you.
So I got home, drove up our driveway, and she was in the back sitting on her wall, and she said she just got off the phone with this ear, nose, and throat doctor, who, of course, on a Friday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon said, are you driving a car? I have bad news for you. Well, she was driving a car with one of our kids in the car, so at this point, what's the news? He said, well, it's very serious. The MRI came back and you have some lesions on your brain. And it might be cancer that spread to your brain from somewhere else.
Unfortunately, the doctor that so eloquently said to me, I hope you're not driving a car, called my house. And Caroline, who at that time was 11, said, is your mom there? And she said, oh no, she just went to pick up my sister at school. And he said, it's an emergency, I really need to talk to her right away. Do you have her cell phone number? So they knew that I was going for an MRI in the morning, so they knew that it wasn't good. So I didn't even have that luxury to talk to even process it myself like all the kids knew. They're like, the doctor just called and said it was an emergency. And obviously I'm ashen at this point, like, your blood runs from your face. So now there are no secrets from the beginning. There was no chance to handle anything other than how it was dealt. That was it.
We were not ready for that at all. Neither one of us had cancer in our families. Both of us took very good care of ourselves. Mollie always exercised, ate well, never smoked, and she was very conscious about her health. Really, we didn't know what to do is kind of where we're at when I got home. That ear, nose, and throat doctor said, you should go see your primary. So Mollie had called, or maybe they had called her primary physician, and we went over to see her at like 4 o'clock or 4:30 on a Friday afternoon.
They did have me go right down to my primary doctor, who was of no help either. She just sat and rocked uncontrollably saying, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, to the point that Mark and I are looking at each other like, this isn't good,
And the doctor came in and she sat on a stool and she just kept rocking back and forth saying, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't know what we're going to do. Well, we were there to find out what we were going to do.
And Mark, in that little examining room, turns around and he says to my brother-in-law, he called my brother-in-law Jack and said, get Edward Cullen on the phone for me.
And literally, as the doctor is kind of holding my wife's hand saying, what are we going to do? I turned around in the exam room and on my cell phone, I called my brother and just said, get Edward Cullen's phone number.
Edward Cullen is a close friend, close personal friend, and he's a top doc in Washington, D.C.
And within seconds or minutes, he called me back with the phone number, and I called him and got his voicemail. But that was kind of when we knew we had to take some things. And, you have to take charge of your own life, and you have to take charge of your own medical care.
So with this other doctor just, kind of rocking out of control, right then and there, Mark got it right into action, and he got a doctor that could handle it, that could handle the situation for us.
That could be within minutes. I don't even want to say hours. I was probably within an hour of finding out what was going on that we were just like, hey, you've got to charge ahead and make sure you're getting the best care you can.
So all this was in a half hour. It all happened very quickly.
One of the issues at that point is, where did the cancer come from? Because I think the MRI said it was metastatic, meaning it came from somewhere else. But it was only an MRI of the brain, so they didn't know where it came from. We had no clue what the process was or what the treatment options were. Quite frankly, I wasn't even sure what an oncologist was at that point, to be honest with you. I couldn't say metastatic For like 2 weeks, it took me practicing that word.
At that point, even though it went to the brain, you have no idea where it's coming from. It could come from anywhere. So you had to find the source. That's the biggest thing. They didn't think that it was just a brain tumor. They thought that it was something that traveled to the brain. Edward Cullen, fortunately, he talked us off the bridge. He was like, look, we're gonna find out where this came from. There's treatments. We're gonna get you taken care of. We're gonna find out where we can go from here. Instead of just like throwing you into the wind saying, it's really bad. Sorry, because that's what they did.
Later that night, when I did talk to Edward Cullen, he's like, no, you need to get a PET scan. And that will show where the cancer's coming. So all over the weekend, we really, you were left without any options, without any kind of plan. And that weekend, I will tell you, that was probably the darkest of our times.
So Friday diagnosed, bad day, bad night. Saturday, just trying to get your bearings and talking to different people and saying, let's keep your powder dry here. Let's wait and see what happens. We don't know. We had no idea what we were dealing with yet.
One of the things when you get these kinds of a diagnosis, you need to have a plan, and you need to have some hope, and you need to have some direction. When you're just left for a whole weekend with no direction and no plan, other than you're very, very sick, it's unsettling to say the least. But we went to church on Sunday, and she got out of, it was hard getting out of bed. It was hard to move those first couple of days. But going to church was very, very important. Our 2 kids in Philadelphia came up, so we were all together, all 9 of us went to church.
I am very religious. I'm very spiritual. I'm very religious. I was born with great faith, I'll put it that way. So I went to church on Sunday morning at St. Paul's, and the priest that was saying the Mass, the poor guy, I feel bad for him, because after Mass, you're just standing there trying to keep it together, and this poor priest comes off the altar after the Mass was over, and I didn't even plan on doing it, obviously, and I just went over to him, and I was like, I need help.
Poor Monsignor Delaney came off the altar at the end of church, and Mollie went over and accosted him. And he didn't have a clue what hit him, the poor guy.
Pray for me, and he was like, what's the matter? And I said I was diagnosed with something bad. On Friday, I found out there's something bad. We don't know what it is, but it's cancer and it's bad. And he gave me a blessing right then and there. And from then on, and it's funny because I am a very private person. I really am a very private person. It's so bizarre that all this has happened to me and that I'm like now telling everybody everything. So from there on, it just all, it's a small town. It just all traveled fast. And my sister-in-law had said, we'd like to do the rosary, have a prayer service for you on Sunday over at Marywood.
Ann Ruddy and my sister-in-law, Ann Conway, put together a rosary that Sunday night, October 23rd, over at Marywood, the IHM Center in the back.
We went over there on Sunday night, and we had a beautiful woman there that said the rosary, and she just gave she's a very spiritual woman, and she just gave a beautiful speech, a beautiful talk, a very inspirational talk, and there were probably, I don't know, there must have been 400 people in the church, in the chapel. It was beautiful.
The place was standing room only. And then at the end, Mollie stood up and said she was ready to fight this. And she said she was in it to win it. And then we all have bracelets, actually, that say in it to win it. But that was the first time I saw Mollie stand up like a champion. And then I knew, I did know she was going to fight this like crazy.
I remember that weekend that I was diagnosed. Friday, I kind of got through it fine, and it was kind of like we had a loving in my bed that night, like all my kids. We were like 9 of us around my bed, it's about to break, but we just laid there and we watched movies that night, and we just like chilled out. And that night I did not sleep much. But you know what? After that I did. That Sunday night I had the prayer service. I slept like a baby that night because you know what? You felt it. I had the support, I had the faith, I had the positive attitude.
For the first 6 days, from October 21st to the morning of October 27th, she was in shock. And we were all kind of in shock. But in those first 6 days, we really had no idea what we were up against, what the diagnosis was, and what we were going to do to try and take care of the diagnosis.
The morning of we were going to go see all the doctors. All the tests were in, all the test results were in. But that morning when I woke up before I got to the doctor's office, I was almost ready to send Mark alone because I thought, I can't even bear it. I can't even bear to hear what they're going to say. I swear to God, I woke up that morning and I just heard like, it was the Rocky sound going like da 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 da. And like as fearful as I was and how ready I was to just say, Mark, you got to just go and find out what we have to do. I heard that voice saying, get up. And not in a real nice voice, like in a real stern, hard voice. Get up. And I did, and I got up, and I'm telling you, it was like, get up. And I do think, I wonder to myself who that voice is. I'm not sure who it is, but it's somebody in the back of my brain saying, get up. Because of my husband, and only because of my husband, because he worked tirelessly for that whole week. By Friday, I was already being treated. So 1 week later, we knew this story. We knew it was colon cancer, stage 4 colon cancer. Went to the liver, went to the brain. So that's what we were dealing with, 3 spots. Tumor in the colon, many spots in the liver, and 2 lesions on the brain.
You know, I think cancer is a very, it leads people to be very, very compassionate because a lot of, especially the very serious cancers, the statistics aren't good. We feel as though we've gotten great care at the places we've been to. Even right now, we're pushing forward, trying to get better care, trying to go different places and see other experts to see, I like to say we don't leave any stone unturned. If we didn't know people like that initial Friday, I don't know if Mollie would be here right now. Because cancer is a progressive disease if you don't stop it.
So by the next Friday, I started undergoing 10 rounds of radiation on the brain. And that did take care of the 2 lesions that were there. And that took care of the dizziness, and that was my only symptom. Then, right after that, immediately following the 10 treatments of radiation that were just right in a row, by the following Tuesday, then, I started chemotherapy, the big guns chemotherapy. That took care of the tumor in the colon. That was totally eradicated, totally gone. Still, the doctors they don't even believe that the tumor was ever there, but it was there. But that's how well that chemo worked. And it took care of most of the liver. So we cleared the brain, we cleared the tumor in the colon, and we got rid of most of the liver, but the liver has been our problem. I am, right now, as we speak, I'm undergoing my 25th round of the heavy-duty chemotherapy because that liver we just can't get a hold of. I had half of my liver removed. Then it came back after that. I enjoyed, I think, 2 weeks of cancer-free. So I enjoyed it was 2 big weeks, but then by the next test, it showed that it was starting up again. So then we were on oral chemotherapy, and now, after my last visit, which wasn't really good with the liver again, we're back on the big guns chemotherapy.
Mollie's inability to let go of the fact that she just felt dizzy, her eyes weren't right, and her pursuing that, and pursuing it even when I was telling her, oh, it's just your eyes, don't worry about it. It's funny when you're able to say, and I've said it 1,000 times, that the brain tumor is what saved her life.
Honestly, it's not bad. For me, and I know for many people it is very bad, but honestly, I mean, I just went through today 4 hours of intravenous chemotherapy, and right now I am hooked up, and I'll have 48 hours more of chemotherapy, and I honestly can say I feel 100%. And I know it's hard to believe. I know it's very hard to believe, and this is my 25th round of heavy-duty, big-time chemotherapy. And I, honest to God, feel fine.
She has heard from people around the world that they're praying for her. And I mean literally around the world. People in South America, people over in Europe, throughout the country. Especially when she was first diagnosed, it was, we were getting mail from all over. We had the whole Schuylkill Federal Prison praying for Mollie. As they like to say, how's Sister Mollie doing? And Mollie appreciated those prayers, I think, as much as the sisters over at IHM, because as she said, maybe God's listening to the bad boys a little closer. The only thing Mollie's ever asked for is to pray for me. When people say, what can I do for you? She just says 4 words, just pray for me. And that's really all she's wanted.
There's no, you can't walk in your house and say, oh, I'm just going to go up to bed. There's no going to bed. There's no going to bed. You're a mother, and they're waiting for you. And well, what time are you gonna be home, Mom? Well, I'm almost done. The chemo's almost done. I'll be right home. And I drive myself home, and you just pick up with your life. And honestly, it has been very manageable for me.
Mollie had a procedure, a radiation procedure, some high-tech Star Wars kind of procedure down at Penn in November, and the follow-up was in February. And we were very positive going in, thinking it was going to be very effective. So in the follow-up, we went in expecting to either hear it was completely successful, or, you need to come back and we'll do another treatment. We finally get in with the doctor, and he's a nice guy, pretty good bedside manner. He just said, I have bad news for you. This didn't work. And we said, well, let's just do it again. He said, no, the cancer's more aggressive than what my treatment is. So you have to go back to your oncologist and go back on chemo. And, that was another body shot. The doctor said, I'm sorry, and that was kind of it, and you're just left there. So we went out in the hallway, and, Mollie, you got knocked down. Took maybe 20 minutes, 40 minutes, then she got back up. We went into Center City, Philadelphia, met my daughter, Kelly, grabbed her out of her office, and we went around the block to somewhere to have lunch, very late lunch. It's me and Kelly and Mollie, and I look over, and Mollie's making notes. And I said, what are you writing? She said, well, it's Patrick's birthday tomorrow. I'm planning the party. And she was doing a list of, supplies or food or invitations. I'm not sure which. But, I just thought that was ironic, a half hour before, an hour before, we're on the ground getting punched in the stomach. And then, an hour later, we're sitting making plans for Patrick's birthday party. Life goes on.
The tradition, like what you would think, the obvious thing is that you have a normal life and you have your normal, happy little family life. And then a grenade is thrown in the middle of it and your whole world blows up, and then what's my life like after that? And we did have the normal, happy life, and we did have the grenade, but then me and my husband, and as a family, it was just decided that the cancer was not going to rule us. They were not going to steer this ship. We were steering the ship. And they're the ones that said to me, like, just discussing this whole thing and talking about our life and our life before I had cancer and after I have cancer. And they're the ones that said to me, like, because when I was talking about, well, what do you think? What do you think? Like, how do you feel about everything? And they're like, Mom, life has not changed for us. And that's coming from kids from 9 years old to 23. They're like, nothing has changed. Like, it's not like, well, before Mom had cancer, we did this. Or before Mom had cancer, we would always go here. Before Mom had cancer, she'd make dinner every night. Like, nothing. And I know it's very hard to believe, and I think that might be what makes our situation so unique. Our life has not changed. We have incorporated cancer into our life, but we have not changed our life. It's in our life. We can't change that. That's what it is. But it has not changed our life. We've just incorporated it.
I think if you were an unhappy person before you get hit with a major tragedy in your life, a major tragedy can make you even more unhappy. But when you're truly a very positive, faithful person, I think you rise above the tragedy. You dig your way out of the hole. You climb over the wall. And I think that's what Mollie has led all of us forward. I think what makes her story so compelling is the way she has handled getting such a punch in the stomach. She's led anyone that's been around her knows how strong she's been throughout this, how it hasn't affected her, how she's walking around with a purse and no one knows what's in that purse. And I'll tell you, it's not lipstick. Her grace under fire has been very, very inspirational to certainly the 9 people in this house and everyone that's outside of this house watching.
The dynamic only changed that I had to be the fighter and he had to be the planner. He had to be the guy behind the scenes. I'm Rocky and he's Mickey. That's who it is. Like, he has the plan. Because honestly, especially at the beginning, you just can't even focus. Like, you're just like, you really can't focus. And he did. Like that Monday, you know, we were diagnosed Friday. That Monday before we got the PET scan, it was like, he just looked at me and was like, okay, Molly, we gotta go. We're gonna see this one, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. I made this call. And he had made so many calls and called in every friend he had that's a doctor, and he got everything moving and grooving. Mark is incredible. I am the luckiest girl in the world. And I mean that. And you know what? I just think how smart I was when I was 16 that I knew he was my guy. I have an awesome life. This has not all been bad. You have a couple bad days. Out of 2.5 years, I've probably had 10 days that have really sucked, that you just have to, you know, you just got to shake it off. We've been at Johns Hopkins. We've been at Penn. We've been at Fox Chase. You know, we've been everywhere. And there are some days that really you just get punched in the face. But you have to get away from the doctor's office. You have to get away from the hospital. You have to come back to your house and just start living your life again, and then you're good. I wouldn't trade my life for anything. I have the best husband in the world that, again, I mean, to find each other at 16 years old, and we are soulmates. He's the best thing that ever happened to me. And my children, who gets 7 great kids? Like just incredibly great kids, each one in their own different way. Like, our life is, I wake up happy every day, and I sleep like a baby every night. And whatever happens, happens. But you know what? I'm gonna fight it tooth and nail. Like I said before, I will not die of cancer. I will live with cancer every day in my life.